No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a recap of the 2022 WWE Hell in a Cell premium live event. And to sum it up, it was a hell of a show. I will say that much. Let's go ahead and talk about the matches. Shout out to everybody watching, whether it's live or on demand. Thank you for your viewership and support. We started off hot. Hell in a Cell 2022, Chicago. Bianca Belair defending the Raw Women's Championship against Asuka and Becky Lynch. Crowd was red hot for this match and hot for the entire show. Chicago continuing to be one of the all-time great wrestling cities, and they definitely brought it for this premium live event. Really strong triple threat here between the ladies to start off the show. Everybody had their own moments of offense. Bianca and Asuka went at it for a while. Becky Lynch was shoving the two of them. She got thrown out of the ring. Becky, though, got back into the mix, picked up some momentum, and she came off the top with a leg drop on Bianca Belair. Asuka broke up the pin. Becky and Asuka traded blows for a while, and then Asuka took Becky down with several strikes, hit her with a suplex. Bianca Belair came in, and she worked over both Becky and Asuka and was hitting moves on both of them at the same time. She did the 10 punches with both of them in the corner, and then Bianca ended up trying to pin both of them at the same time. Later on, Asuka got in some offense. She hit both Bianca and Becky with a hip attack, and then Asuka put both of them in dueling ankle locks, but they managed to break out of that. Bianca ended up in the disarm her, but she powered out of it. Becky hit the manhandle slam. Asuka came in, broke up the pin. Bianca was knocked off the apron. Asuka and Becky traded near falls, and then Asuka got the Asuka lock submission on. Becky hit the manhandle slam to Asuka, but Bianca then threw Becky to the outside and pinned Asuka. So basically, Bianca Belair took a page out of Becky's book and stole the victory when Becky had the match won with the manhandle slam. Really strong match to start off the show. Not really any surprises. I fully expected Asuka to take the fall in this one, but it was a really fun match. Great job by everybody involved. And especially when this was reportedly not the original match that was scheduled for this pay-per-view. Next up, we had Bobby Lashley versus Omas and MVP in a handicap match. I have to give MVP credit. I love that little music video disc that he did on Bobby Lashley, talking about how Lashley's name may be Bobby, but MVP has the brains like Heenan. Just great stuff there, in my opinion. Now, before the match, Cedric Alexander offered to help out in the handicap match, and MVP basically told him to piss off, said that the Hurt Business is done, they're not coming back. And this was basically going to play into how this match ended. So MVP acted like he was going to fight Bobby Lashley, but of course he tagged out to Omos, and Omos did a lot of damage to Lashley. MVP would tag in once Omos had taken down Lashley. Omos and MVP worked over Lashley for a while. And then Omos on the outside of the ring, he tackled Lashley through the barricade. Lashley barely, I should say, made the 10 count, got back in at a count of 9. And then Lashley was somehow able to hit MVP with a spear. Omos broke up the pin. Then Cedric Alexander ran down to the ring. He got into the ring. Omos clotheslined Alexander over the top rope. And MVP went for the running boot, the Yakuza kick, but Lashley avoided it, got the hurt lock on, and MVP ended up tapping out. So there was a comment in the chat room about how could Omos and MVP lose a handicap match? Well, basically, Cedric Alexander cost them by running down there and getting involved. Match was okay for what it was, basically a showcase for Lashley. So in that sense, it was all right, but I'm hoping this is the end of it and we're moving on. And I think we are, because afterwards we had Lashley holding up somebody's replica WWE title. Maybe that means we're getting Roman Reigns versus Bobby Lashley, and perhaps that wasn't the original plan, but with a certain injury to a main event guy on Raw, maybe WWE will be doing a Roman Reigns versus Lashley match at some point. And yes, this handicap match was probably done so Lashley could pick up a win without Omos having to get beaten again. Next up, we had Ezekiel versus Kevin Owens. Good match here between these two. Ezekiel hit a jumping knee right off the bat, hit a top rope elbow, but Owens kicked out of that. They went to the outside of the ring. Ezekiel was sent into the ring post. Owens got the upper hand for a while, worked over Ezekiel, kept yelling out, "This is Elias." Owens went for a swanton, but Ezekiel got his knees up. Ezekiel started to build up some momentum, hit a spine buster, but Owens kicked out of that. Owens came back, hit a pop-up power bomb. Ezekiel kicked out of that. And then Owens hit the cannonball, followed by a stunner, and picked up a clean win over Ezekiel. I have to say I was a little surprised and actually a little disappointed, because I really thought we were going to see something with Elias. I thought maybe Elias would show up on the Titantron, or we would hear the guitar strumming and that would distract Owens. We got nothing. Owens just beat Ezekiel 1, 2, 3, and that was that. Now, of course, we could still get that, and I'm hoping we do get that. I just wasn't expecting Owens to pick up a clean win. So where does Elias's younger brother go from here? Maybe they have a rematch. I mean, they probably will. It's WWE, right? And in the rematch, Owens might be on the verge of winning, and we hear that guitar strumming, or a familiar face appears on the Titantron and distracts Owens, and Ezekiel gets the win. I mean, I think we got to get that at some point, right? Like, they can't just drop Ezekiel out of nowhere now. I'm thinking we'll get a rematch. Match was good, though, like I said. Moving on here, we had a 6-person tag team match. We had the Judgment Day, Edge, along with Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley, up against Finn Balor, AJ Styles, and Liv Morgan. We had a face-off right at the start, all 6 in the ring. A brawl erupted with everybody fighting each other, and Balor and Styles helped launch Liv Morgan towards Rhea Ripley so she could hit a Hurricane Rana. Ripley got the upper hand, hitting a headbutt to Morgan. Morgan was able to tag in Styles. Styles wanted a piece of Edge, but of course, Edge tagged in Damian Priest. And then Edge, of course, provided a distraction, allowing his partner Priest to get the upper hand. They worked over Balor for a while. Eventually, Balor was able to tag out to Styles, and the good guys and gal had some momentum. They all did dives to the outside of the ring, but then Balor was going to hit the coup de grace, and Rhea Ripley prevented Balor from doing that not once, but twice. And the second time, Rhea Ripley just stood right in front of Edge to protect him. And Liv Morgan sent Rhea Ripley to the outside of the ring, but Ripley's involvement helped turn the tide in the match as Edge was able to hit the spear, and he scored the 1-2-3 victory over Finn Balor. No surprise here. I fully expected Judgment Day to win. Shout out to Stefan. Haven't seen him in the chat room for a while. Good to see Stefan Osborne in the chat room with us tonight. As the usual crew, Cleaver Colin Andrew is here. And I saw TJS in the chat room earlier. So thank you guys for being part of the chat tonight. Moving on here, we had Madcap Moss versus Happy Corbin in a no-holds-barred match. Michael Cole came in for his one match of the night. No Pat McAfee. I mean, why fly him in for one match? Michael Cole is probably there at every show anyways, as he's like, you know, a senior backstage behind the scenes guy in WWE. He's been there for 25 years. You know, I would think that Michael Cole would always be involved. The This Guy Experience sent in a $2 super chat, says, match looks like seniors, Judgment Day versus freshmen, AJ and Liv Morgan. Nice one. I mean, especially with Edge in there, looking pretty old. He's got that haircut, but guy's pushing 50 at this point. Although AJ Styles is no young guy either. He's getting into his 40s now. So Corbin and Moss, this was a pretty fun match. I mean, I'm kind of over these guys fighting each other, but this was good. They went right to the outside of the ring. Corbin sent Moss into the LED set. They went back over by the announcers. Moss grabbed the announcer's chair and threw it right in Corbin's face, sent Corbin into the steel steps. Caleb Jacob says, did you get my super chat from earlier? I did, Caleb. I did not answer it because it was off topic, but since we are on topic, I will answer the other super chat now. He sent in $2.69. He said, Madcap Moss is definitely a future champion. He definitely has momentum, and that is a possibility. Madcap Moss has a great look. He's got some personality, and he's capable of having good matches. So I think there's a decent shot for him to be a pretty big star in WWE. They're definitely moving in the right direction, changing up his presentation. Absolutely a plus. So Corbin gained the upper hand for a while, used the steel chair on Moss. Crowd was chanting, we want tables, and they were chanting a-hole at Corbin. Corbin dominated for a while, and then Corbin was sent into a chair. Moss grabbed the chair, used it repeatedly on Corbin, and then Corbin recovered from that, brought in some steel steps, but then Moss gave Corbin a fall-away slam into the steps. Moss hit the punchline, and then he was going for some serious payback. He wrapped the steel chair around the neck of Corbin, just like what Corbin did to him a few weeks ago. And then Moss grabbed the steel steps, slammed them down onto the chair, and then finished off Corbin, pinned him 1, 2, 3. So match was good, pretty much what it needed to be. You're building up Madcap Moss, possible top guy in the future. We'll see. And I did see a comment in the chat room. Maybe we can get a repackaging of Corbin at this point. Speaking of people that could benefit from having their presentation changed up. And Jose brought up that he's been repackaged several times. I mean, at this point, maybe it would be good for him to just go back to being the lone wolf or doing something like that. Bring back his old music, have him be the old Corbin again. He's got to start taking things more seriously himself. Get rid of the whole happy Corbin thing. And Corbin was taken out on a stretcher, so perhaps we will see him with a repackaged gimmick at some point. Next up, we had Theory defending the United States title against Mustafa Ali in Ali's hometown of Chicago. Crowd was very much behind him. They were chanting Ali. His wife and children were there, which sometimes is a spoiler that somebody is going to win with their family being there. And of course, being in the hometown, that's the opposite. Usually the hometown guy does not win in his hometown. So anyways, another good match here. Back and forth with these guys. Ali had some Chicago-inspired gear for this match, and he took down Theory with several arm drags. Theory got sent to the outside. Ali came off the top with a crossbody to the outside. Theory gained control by sending Ali shoulder first into the ring post, and Ali managed to make a comeback, put on the STF submission, but Theory got to the rope. Ali went for a 450 splash, but he missed. Theory then hit a chop block, pinned Ali with the A-Town down. So no surprise here. I expected Theory to retain, especially with all the talk that Theory will be facing John Cena at SummerSlam. That's the rumor right now, the rumor and innuendo. They've been teasing it on social media. And yeah, you got to keep Theory strong. He's the guy that they're trying to build up as the future of the company. No surprise here that he retained. And Theory, of course, took his selfie after the match was over. Now, we move on to the main event. Cody Rhodes versus Seth Freakin Rollins. Earlier in the day, a report came out that Cody Rhodes was injured. He apparently suffered a torn pectoral muscle, and they said that he first got hurt on Raw during the brawl with Seth Rollins, and then later he was doing weightlifting, and yeah, the muscle just completely tore off the bone. And Rollins came to the ring first. He was wearing polka dot gear, which is what Dusty Rhodes wore when he was in WWE. So total mockery of Cody and his father, Dusty. Cody made his entrance with his ring gear, and then he took off his jacket, and yeah, you could see that he was not 100% in any way. Like, he had some serious bruising, and the crowd knew this was not some kind of storyline here. They actually went quiet for the opening minutes of this match. I think people were just in total disbelief that Cody was doing this match, that he was out there with a friggin' torn pectoral muscle. Hamp Connell sent in a $2 super chat, says, I'm glad that Poop Blossom Ali did not win. Oh, come on, Hamp. Why are you dissing Ali like that? That was mean. Walter Cruz sent in a $2 super chat, says, Rollins looks good in polka dot, nice storytelling. Yeah, he did look nice in the polka dots. I got to give Rollins credit. He rocked it pretty nicely. He could wear that more often if he wanted to. The This Guy Experience sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. He's going off topic here a little bit. Says, what happened to the cool names like The Rock, Triple H, Mankind, Ultimate Warrior? Everyone just has normal names. Also, Theory was dressed similar to Cena. We're in the reality era. I mean, it's been that way for a long time, where people either use their real name or they use a name that sounds like their real name, just something that WWE can trademark. But yeah, I do miss the days when wrestlers had names that fit their character, like the $1 Million Man or Jake the Snake, those type of names. So this was hard to watch. I mean, legitimate injury here. Cody was basically wrestling with one good arm, and they kept doing spots using the pectoral muscle as part of the story. Rollins kept targeting it during the match. Cody was trying to finish off Rollins very quickly. Cody hit the Cody cutter right off the bat, but was unable to hit the crossroads. He did put on the figure 4. Rollins went to the outside, went under the ring with his hand, grabbed a kendo stick and used it on Cody. And he was targeting the pectoral area, the bruised up area, with the kendo stick. And yeah, like I said, the crowd was pretty quiet at this point. I think that they were just trying to understand why the hell Cody was out there doing this match with one good arm. Underground Knight sent in a $2 super chat, says, I can't be the only one upset with Rollins losing. Well, if anything, maybe they just stuck to the plan. I mean, I think that's what the deal was here. I was thinking that Rollins was going to win this one if Cody's going to be out of action for a while. Brian sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, I have more respect for Cody after this match. Yeah, I mean, the dude is nuts. There's no question about it. And this was Hell in a Cell. This was a major pay-per-view that Cody was headlining. His first time headlining a WWE pay-per-view in the main event spot. So he must have insisted on pushing through. And this is the same guy that did a moonsault off the top of a cage. The same guy that did the crossroads off the top rope through a flaming table, or a reverse crossroads. Whatever the hell that move was that he did to Andrade. It was nuts. And Cody took the worst of it too. Hamp Connell sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Hamp. Says, people who think the selfie gimmick will never get over forget that we thought Thugonomics would never get over. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Yeah, that is true, but Tyler Breeze already did the selfie gimmick. I suppose that you try it again with somebody else and maybe they can connect with the audience in a different way and it'll get over. Steve-O is here. Shout out to Steve-O. He was there in Chicago for the show. He says, greetings from Chicago. Solid show in person. Yeah, it was quite the show, Steve-O. I'm sure you guys had a good time there. The atmosphere seemed like it was very intense for most of the show. Caleb Jacobs sent in a $3 super chat. Thank you, Caleb. Says, so much respect for Cody. I agree, man. He's a total pro. And some people will say, how did Cody even get cleared for this? I mean, that's a very valid question, in my opinion. I guess Cody insisted that he could pull it off. And I mean, how do you go through all that without injuring yourself even further? Like, as JR would say, there's no way you can fake some of this stuff that they do. So the storyline here was Rollins kept exploiting the injury. He sent Cody into the cage, pec first, and he used the steel steps on Cody's pec. It was crazy, man. Like it was a little rough for me to watch. And I think that's the way it was with the crowd too, but they did get into it. Rollins ended up putting on Cody's jacket and grabbed a polka dot weight belt, used the weight belt on Cody, once again targeting the pec. And then Rollins pulled a table from under the ring, which got like one of the biggest pops of the night. What is it about WWE crowds? They just love the tables, man. They absolutely do. Because they were chanting, thank you, Rollins, when he pulled the table from under the ring. Like, they are obsessed with the tables for whatever reason. Like, tables are cool and all, but are they really the end-all, be-all? Just wondering. I guess they are. Mike sent in a $2 super chat, says Double or Nothing or Hell in a Cell. I'll get to that here in a few minutes once I'm finished with this recap. I mean, Double or Nothing was a crazy show, and this was a really solid show too, but I'll talk more about that here in just a minute. I'm surprised WWE hasn't done a premium live event where every match on the card is a tables match, kind of like Impact Wrestling's Lockdown. Make every match a table match, and they might have the biggest pay-per-view / premium live event of all time. So then Cody managed to get through all that punishment, not sure how. He grabbed a he actually put no, wait a minute. Let me back up here. Rollins set up that table that I was talking about, and Rollins went for the frog splash, but Rhodes moved out of the way. Rollins crashed through the table, and then Rhodes went to the outside of the ring, grabbed a bull rope, which is an old Dusty Rhodes gimmick, and he tied himself to the bull rope and wanted Rollins. He basically challenged Rollins to like a brawl with the bull rope. So Rollins accepted, and Cody got the upper hand. He hit Rollins with the cowbell, but Rollins was able to kick out of that, and then Rhodes hit the crossroads. Rollins kicked out again. Rollins had another table set up, and he gave Cody a buckle bomb. He put Rollins put Rhodes through the table with a buckle bomb. Rhodes kicked out of that, though. And Rollins then pulled a sledgehammer from under the ring. Hamp Connell sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Hamp. I appreciate it. Says, it's time to retire Hell in a Cell for a few years. They're not going to do that. You know they're not dropping that match. There'll always be a Hell in a Cell match. Maybe they'll do a second one this year. They did last year. Well, like a fourth one after the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. But would not shock me if they do another one in October at the Saudi Arabia pay-per-view. Actually, I think that's November. But whenever that crown jewel is. And I agree, Walter. I think that it should just be a match that wraps up a storyline rather than being a gimmick pay-per-view. I'm 100% on that. So Rhodes hit a pedigree on Rollins, but Rollins kicked out. And then Cody tried to get the sledgehammer, but he got hit with a curb stomp. Cody somehow kicked out of the curb stomp, and then crowd was chanting, "This is awesome." Rollins hit Cody with a crossroads, Cody's own move, but then Cody managed to turn around and hit one of his own. Both guys were down. Both of them were reaching for the sledgehammer. Rhodes got it, but did not have the strength to use it. But he was able to hit two more crossroads, went for the sledgehammer again. He finally managed to hit Rollins with the sledgehammer and picked up a 1-2-3 victory. Somehow, some way, Cody Rhodes beat Seth Freakin Rollins 3 matches in a row. The third one being with a torn pectoral muscle. Crazy, man. I mean, this was just insane. Match was awesome. And all things considered, like, I don't know what they would have done if Cody was 100%. But yeah, it was a spectacle to watch. No doubt about it. Matt with a $5 super chat says, undesirable to unfreaking deniable, the actual best in the world. Greetings from Grand Rapids. Shout out to Matt, Grand Rapids, nice little town. I was there a couple years back. And Cody, if he wasn't going in the Hall of Fame before, I think he's going in the Hall of Fame after this night. I mean, Cody definitely sealed his spot as a top tier guy. Like, if it wasn't clear before, you go out there with a torn pectoral muscle and you perform in the main event as advertised, like, Vince McMahon knows he can always rely on you. I mean, Cody's going to be the WWE champion. Might be delayed, but one day he will have that title. I am like 99.9% convinced Cody Rhodes is a future WWE champion. This Guy Experience sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, Hardway blood or Rick F blood? A lot of blood on show. Maybe he meant real blood. I'm not sure what that typo is, but I mean, yeah, what is that? Or fake blood? Is that what you meant? Hardway blood or fake blood? That makes more sense. You confuse me live here, This Guy Experience. I have no idea what you're talking about. I would say fake blood is always better than hardway blood, or planned blood, I should say, where I mean, you know, they say cutting yourself is barbaric, but at least if you're doing that, it's planned out and the person doing it is at least trying to cut themselves in a way where they're not going to seriously hurt themselves. I mean, cutting yourself is still hurting yourself, but you know what I mean. Ric Flair blood. Okay, well, yeah, Ric Flair blood. Yeah, when you cut yourself, you can create that visual. Hardway blood, you never know how that's going to go. But yeah, the Ric Flair blood always works out well because you got the blonde hair and the blood goes in the hair and it makes for a better visual. I think the Eddie Guerrero blood in that match with JBL was definitely hardway, and that was crazy too. So you can get Ric Flair blood hardway too. Anyways, show was great. Like, it was a little bit longer than NXT, about 3 hours, just over 3 hours, but all the matches were really solid. Like, there was no bad match on the show, no real filler match. Even the Lashley match served a purpose in building up Lashley for Roman Reigns. So in that regard, that match was what it needed to be. I liked the show a lot. I'm going to give it an A-. Like, it was a perfectly strong, not a perfect show, but a perfectly acceptable show. And the main event kicked ass. I mean, Cody Rhodes really went out there and went beyond anybody's expectations under the circumstances. So, yeah, big thumbs up for this show. Now, going back to earlier, comparing it with Double or Nothing. I mean, Double or Nothing was a top tier show. I'd probably go with Double or Nothing, but if I had to judge it based on the length, I prefer Hell in a Cell. If you took the best 3 hours of Double or Nothing, then yeah, I'd probably put it above Hell in a Cell. But Cody's performance, I mean, that was an all-timer. Like, you can put that up against anything that WWE has done or anything AEW has done. Like, that was an all-time epic performance as far as I'm concerned. But I think overall, like, the strongest matches at Double or Nothing were top tier and pretty much outshined everything except for Cody's heroic performance going out there and working despite the injury. But I would absolutely recommend this show 100%. Main event is must watch, and the rest of the show was a pretty easy watch. And they didn't do any screwy finishes. You had clean finishes across the board, and you elevated people. So yeah, definitely a thumbs up for this one. Christian Torga with a $2 super chat says, can't believe people think Cody's tear is makeup. No. And the thing is too, like, Cody, he's a good actor, but you could tell that he was really struggling out there, and he was basically working with one good arm. Brian with a $2 super chat says, kind of odd, no advertisement for Royal Rumble 2023. I see what you did there, Brian. Hopefully Cody is not out of action for very long, but with these kind of injuries, the likelihood is he will be gone for quite a while. And Mike, I didn't miss your super chat. I was just trying not to bounce all over the place here. I mean, this is a totally random question, but I'm getting to it now. He says, who's better on the mic, MJF or The Rock? That's a dream match for me. If MJF jumped ship, imagine the promos. Nobody's better than The Rock. I love MJF. He's awesome. But there's only one Rock. And there probably will not be anybody else that can reach that level. MJF being a top 10 guy as far as promos go, well on his way, in my opinion. Like, he's absolutely killing it. That promo on Wednesday was an all-time great one. He's on his way to being a top-tier promo guy. Maybe 5 years from now, he'll be close. That is very possible. And by the way, guys, if you want to send in any random super chats, now is the time, since I have finished the recap. Hamp says, World Tour or Revenge? Revenge, just because it was the follow-up and they improved on a couple of things. You had a little bit of a deeper roster, and you had more stages, more pay-per-views for the sets and everything, more move sets. Like, there was just more. They took what worked in World Tour and built up on it. But World Tour is still a great game. We're talking about the Nintendo 64 WCW games for anybody confused out there. Just like with WrestleMania 2000 versus No Mercy. Both of those games are great, but No Mercy gets the edge because No Mercy, they took all the stuff from World Tour and built on it and made it even better. World Tour was really fun. I mean, all those games, all those THQ wrestling games on the 64 were top tier. Hampcano sent in a $2 super chat, says, Mayhem or Backstage Assault, they both suck. Are you asking me to say which is the less suckier game? Maybe Mayhem, but both of those were pretty awful, and I would not recommend either of them. The strongest games were definitely those THQ games. Yeah, even the WWE games on the 64 prior to THQ were not that great. Like Warzone, it was okay, but nothing too special. So anyways, guys, thank you all for tuning in tonight. I really do appreciate your viewership and support. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube. Tell a friend. Spread the word. Psycho Jet Black with the $2 super chat says, seriously, Aaron, thank you for all the pay-per-view recaps. I appreciate it, Psycho Jet Black. Thank you for tuning in and leaving your Ricochet comments. We always get a good laugh out of that. We can always count on a Ricochet joke for pretty much every live stream. And even though you didn't make one tonight, I still referenced it, so there you go. Have a great night, everybody. Enjoy your week. Stay tuned for the latest updates regarding Cody Rhodes. NoDQ.com/Colin Follow the Cleaver, Colin, Andrew. Take care, everybody. And remember, say yes to NoDQ.com. See you all next time.